This is the 5 to 25 power Eagle Blaze, whose most surprising feature isn't its Japanese ED glass, it's that it has a street price under $300. I won't do a boring unboxing video. Instead, let's just take a look at the contents of the box. This is the CVLife Eagle Blaze. It is a 5 to 25 power first focal plane scope with a 56mm objective lens. And overall, first impressions are that CVLife has really improved the quality of their long-range scopes. It is a budget scope, but it almost looks like an entry-level or even a mid-tier scope from a bigger brand. Now, it has 6 levels of illumination on its reticle with an off in between, and sharing the same turret is the parallax focus, which goes from 30 yards to infinity. This is kind of stiff. I'm glad that it has very aggressive knurling, almost like gear teeth on this ring here, because that helps in turning this. And it has the same style of texturing on the control surfaces for our elevation and windage turrets, and these are locking, so you do just pull up to unlock, and now that is a very loud and tactile positive clicks on there, and each of the clicks is a quarter MOA, and really no slop in between each of the clicks, so that's nice. And these are user resettable. You just unscrew this screw and take off the top and reset it, and place it down on your zero once you have your reticle zeroed out. It has a very interesting zero stop ring that you just screw in to install. Of course, you can just remove it, unscrew it, or not install it to run it without a zero stop. And press down to lock it, and our windage, similar, pull up to unlock. Loud, tactile positive, with no slop in between each of the clicks. Again, click is a quarter MOA. Now, one thing you should note that once you have this locked down, you really have to cinch down on these turret tops to tighten them down. Otherwise, this is going to happen. See that? It doesn't stay locked in. Now, I don't know if that is actually turning the, changing the reticle position. I don't believe it is. It doesn't feel like it is, but we'll have to test that out on the range. But that is a kind of disconcerting aspect of this particular scope, that you really have to cinch down on that to make sure that that doesn't loosen up when it's locked down. All right, and our magnification ring, a little stiff and a little bit of grit in part of the turn there. It does have a screw-in throw lever, and it kind of needs it for that magnification. And our diopter turns smoother, and it even has an indicator dot, so it helps you determine where you have previously set your focus on your reticle. So, all right, so apart from the little disconcerting movement on those turrets, which we'll check out at the range, we should just mount this up because it does come with its own rings, and we'll give it a test. Before we get started with the test, I'd just like to take a quick break here to talk about this episode's sponsor, Aura. For the cost of just a VPN, I'm getting a whole suite of security services, including $1 million in identity theft insurance, and they're even removing me from those damn data broker listings. Use my link, aura.com/moondog, and you can try them for 14 days, free. And if you use that link, you're helping to support this channel. You know, identity fraud is a real thing, and with AI, it's all too easy to spoof your identity. That's why you should try out Aura. All right, let's get back to the tests. We're looking through the Eagle Blaze at the peak of Mount Davidson, 1,400 yards away. We have the scope set at its lowest power of 5 for the best overall image through the glass, and you can compare the colors that you're seeing inside of the scope to the world outside of the scope. And what I'm seeing is a really good, sharp, clear image that has good color balance and saturation. Now, I also noted that I like this reticle. It's very bold, very easy to see at low power, which is great for you hunters out there. Now, let's bring this up to its halfway point in its magnification, which is typically a scope's sweet spot. And I'm seeing still a really good image and very little chromatic aberration. Usually you'll see a purple fringing in high contrast areas like where the trees are silhouetted against the sky. Now let's bring this up all the way to its maximum magnification of 25 and see what that looks like. And that is still pretty darn good. You can see a trail marker saying that's on the top of the hill. That's the white object of just the right and above the center crosshairs. That is a 3-foot-ish sign on top of a pole, which is a good proxy for an IPSC target at this distance. All right, we have the scope pointed at a shaded tree nearby, and we're going to take a look at the illumination here. I'm going to bring it all the way up to its maximum of 6, and that is what is visible. It is the very center cruciform, center part of the crosshairs there. And let me put my hand in front of the bell so you can hopefully see that a little more clearly. We're looking through the CVLife Eagle Blaze at our reference targets downrange at 100 yards, and we have the scope set at its lowest power of 5 for our best overall image through the glass. This is a good opportunity here to do a range of adjustment, and I'm just going to loosen up the locks on these turrets, and we're going to turn them and see how far we can get this reticle. Quite a bit. That is the very top, and you can see the edge of the eye box there, that black curve. It's because the camera is locked into the tube of the scope and can't make little adjustments like our heads can. And quite a bit of vertical adjustment here. That's the very bottom there. Alright, let's get this back centered and to factory 0 on this turret. There we are. Alright, let's check our windage. And that is as far right as it will go. Quite a bit. Quite a few rotations on this turret. And each rotation is 20 MOA, and that was the leftmost, by the way. Now let's bring this back to 0 on this turret. I believe that's 0. Alright, let's zoom in about halfway and just check to see if we are lined up to where we were before. So I'm going to stop it at 12 just to see where we are. Yeah, and that's, I had it lined up to the center of that grid target there, and let's bring this all the way up to its maximum of 25 and take a look at that target. Now, we've lost quite a bit of brightness, though I am not seeing any serious chromatic aberration, no purple fringing around the edges of our target, but we don't see a lot of detail in the backstop. It's a pretty muddy picture. Alright, I've aimed the scope at the bottom left corner of the grid target there, and we're going to do a box test here. I'm going to dial in. I should be able to get to the next quarter box if I dial in 7 MOA into our elevation. And if I dial in 7 MOA on our windage, that should put us into the next box. And if I bring the elevation back to 0, it should bring us into the next quarter box. And if I dial our windage back to 0, we're right back where we started. So that passes the box test. Alright, we're going to do my buddy Cyclops Joe's nipple twister test, where we're just going to turn the heck out of these turrets for a good 15 seconds each, or 30 seconds. And we'll see if it'll come back to the starting point when I bring the turrets back to 0. Alright, let's start with our windage now. Let's turn this over to factory 0, like that way. There we go. And, oh, wrong way. Let's bring our elevation back to, there we go. And yeah, we're right back where we started. This passes the nipple twister test. Now let's just check that turret out. Now, I remember when I was testing this, if you don't cinch down this particular turret all the way down, it can move a little bit even when it's locked down in this position. So I'm just going to see if this changes the reticle position in any way, and it does not. So all right, so this is just a little bit of a bit of a problem. Say this is 0 and just gotta have to cinch this thing down, and I am pretty much as cinched as I can. So it's just something you're gonna have to live with a budget scope, is that this turret doesn't lock down 100%. All right, I've tilted the scope down so that we can look at the 2 bottom targets on that board more clearly, and they're not obscured by the reticle. Now, the overall image has gotten darker and milkier, and I've lost a lot of detail. Like, I don't see much in the backstop behind our target. It's just sort of a gray, dark gray mass. And I can see bullet hits on the reactive sticker target on the bottom left target, but I really can't see, I can barely make out any additional bullet hits on that paper. And in our optical resolution chart on the bottom right, I can make out both horizontal and vertical lines down to element 3, and if I'm generous, element 4 in group -1, which is actually pretty good for a budget scope. Before we talk about the Eagle Blaze, I just want to remind you to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. You know, less than 5% of my viewers are subscribers, which is kind of crazy. You know, it's absolutely free. They don't charge you to become a subscriber to my channel. So do that, because when you do become a subscriber, well, you're more likely to be suggested my other videos in the future by the algorithm. And if you do like my content and how I present things, well, I invite you to check out my travel channel, Moondog Go, and my gadget channel, Moondog Reviews. Well, I want to thank CVLife for sending out the Eagle Blaze for me to test. I've been a longtime owner of CVLife scopes. In fact, their 6-24 AOR was one of the first scopes I ever bought. And, you know, they are a really good budget brand as far as my experiences with them. For what you're paying, they're reliable, and, you know, they're kind of like the Harbor Freight of optics. Now, I know maybe that's a backhanded compliment, but that's how I think of them. And their newer scopes actually have really raised the bar in terms of the features and the performance that they offer for a very reasonable price. In fact, this currently has a street price of $299 when I last checked on Amazon, which is remarkable unto itself, but even more remarkable because this has Japanese ED glass. I don't know of any other scopes in that price tier in this magnification range that has Japanese ED glass, but, you know, let me know in the comments if there are. But as you saw in my testing, at 1400 yards, this was remarkably clear. In fact, it was a really good glass with very little chromatic aberration. The only thing it doesn't have is good low light performance, as you saw when I was looking at targets in the cove, in the shaded cove. Yeah, so if you are a hunter who needs a scope for twilight, well, yeah, you probably will be a little frustrated with this. The only other thing I wish this also had was had an MRAD version of the scope. This is currently only an MOA. But, you know, if that isn't an issue, well, this is a great reticle, great turrets. In fact, I really like the fact that, you know, it has really nice clicks, and both audible and tactile positive. The only thing I didn't like about the turrets, though, is that you saw that when you lock it down, you can loosen this up when you really apply a bit of torque onto that. Now, I don't have any other scopes that exhibit that kind of quality. Now, I contacted CVLife about that, and to their credit, one of their engineers actually sent me a video that showed me that I really just, all I needed to do was really cinch down that locking screw on there. But let me know in the comments if you think that is a deal breaker for you in terms of how the lock works on the turrets here, or if that's not an issue. Because, yeah, for the price you're paying, for the level of sharpness, you know, this is a great scope for range use in broad daylight. I've included product links as well as more information in my full written review at moondogindustries.com. You'll find a link to that article in this video's description. Use that link and the discount codes you happen to find on that article, and you help support this channel. And of course, you can always help support my efforts by simply hitting that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell buttons. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. God bless. Moondog out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.